I just dropped off my bag at a special Sky Priority check-in area here at the Orlando International Airport, and today I'm flying to LaGuardia. With over 19 million passengers in 2021, this airport can make the traveler weary. This is the 7th busiest airport in the USA, and with many passengers bringing their children to nearby Walt Disney World, the airport might be a place of rest for some adults. But seriously, if you're at an airport, why would you close your eyes? There is so much to see at an airport, especially here at MCO. While this channel focuses heavily on the view from the window seat, I love the views inside the East Hall of the A and B terminal. This area features a fountain. Fountains can be found at several airports throughout the world, and this fountain is one of the last landside features that passengers see before TSA. And above the fountain is a large hotel with interior balcony views that look down upon the fountain. What a uniquely designed area. I love it here, but I have to pass through TSA now because I have a Delta Airlines A321 to catch up to New York City today, so let's go through TSA. At this airport, the gates are in 4 separate satellites that are connected to the main terminal area by 4 trains. Today, I'm taking the train that leads to gates 70 to 99. That's where Delta Airlines is located. Always gotta love airports where you have to take a train to your plane. This ride, reminiscent of the rides at Disney, is for ticketed passengers only. What do you think about taking a train to the plane? Is it an indicator of being in an airport that's too big, or do you like the views? Well, if you know me, my eyes are glued out the window of the train so I can get a glimpse of the ramp of what's known as airside number 4. It's a short ride there today, and I'm soaking up every moment of the ride under the Central Florida sky. This ride isn't very long at all, and in typical Peter Masella style, I've arrived at the airport well in advance of my departure time, so as the train deposits me in the satellite, I'm going to take a few moments to go to the Delta Sky Club for nourishment. Today, my flight will be in Delta's main cabin, and no full meal will be offered, so it's off to the Sky Club for a complimentary breakfast. The Sky Club is located 1 level up and has a very distinctive look as compared to the other Delta Sky Clubs I've visited, but the food is very similar to the food offered at other Sky Clubs, making the product seem quite familiar to me. The flight to LaGuardia won't be too long, so the food can hold me over until landing. Of course, when I'm at a Sky Club, I always look for windows to get views of the ramp, but the windows were kind of hard to see out at this particular Sky Club. It's almost like being a DTW. If you don't have access to the Sky Club, there are plenty of places to eat in this satellite concourse. Okay, I'm now in the elevator after a lovely visit to the Sky Club, and I'm headed to my gate. As much as I enjoy being in the Sky Club and its benefits, it's always a thrill to be on the departures level in the hustle-bustle of people going all over the world. This is a true international airport. For today's flight, I am sitting in the main cabin. I'm in row 21 on the right side of the aircraft. That's all that was available for this flight today. Whoa, can you hear those crowds? It is a busy, busy day here at MCO. I mean, I can't even get close to my airplane to take a picture. It's crowded here today. Boarding has begun, and I'll be boarding a few moments after the pre-boarding group. So come fly with me to LaGuardia. A321. I've been flying in this airplane a lot recently. Okay, I'm on the Airbus A321. I've got a window and a half here, so I'm gonna make sure I open up this one, and I'm gonna open up this one too. Not the greatest view because I am partially over the wing, but I'm gonna make the most out of this flight. Today we're gonna be flying the RDSOX 1 departure, which is gonna take us out to the west a little bit before we head north. Oh, and can any of you figure out why it's called the RDSOX departure? Sounds kind of Boston-y to me. We're flying out of Orlando today. Airport departure and arrival procedures are often named for people or places or things that are associated with the area. As we pushed back, I thought about this a little more. Red Sox immediately brings to mind the Boston Red Sox baseball team, but the Boston Logan International Airport already has a bunch of New England-based sport teams' names. These include the Bruins 6 departure, the Celtics 6 departure, the Pats 6 departure, and they do have a departure procedure called the Sox 6 departure, which references the Boston Red Sox, I'm sure. So why is today's departure procedure out of Orlando called Red Sox 1? If you know, let me know in the comments section below. In any case, I can't wait to bring you along with me on the Red Sox departure this morning. A tug is currently pushing us back into the ramp of Airside 4. Like the other ramps, this is a circular ramp, and it has exit points on its south and east sides to allow access to the taxiways and ultimately the runways. We're in the southeast quadrant of Terminals A and B, and by the way, MCO Airport has a brand new Terminal C now, which is located in the southern part of the airport, but this video will not be covering that terminal. On top of Airside 4 is a tower. That's the tower that's responsible for all ramp activity, not activity on the taxiways or runways. That's handled by the taller and more prominent control tower. There are several ramp towers at this airport. This airport covers a lot of real estate, quite different than the airport that I'll be flying to today, LaGuardia. While at a standstill, ground crew members removed the tug that was attached to the forward landing gear, and they worked their way back to the terminal to work their next flight, which could be an arrival or departure. While most passengers were watching the video on the screen, I'm focused on what's going on outside. Our engines have been started, and we're about to leave the control of ramp control and taxi on out to the runway today. The coast is clear for us, and we're about to start moving under our own power. We need to leave the ramp area and contact ground control for clearance to the active taxiways. As we taxi out, we pass by the gates that Delta uses. Delta has service to 13 cities from MCO. It's not enough to make it a hub, but it's quite a few destinations for a non-Delta hub. Orlando is a popular place. Most of the cities that Delta flies to are hubs or focus cities, offering passengers many connections. But it's time to leave the Delta gates and head on out to the mix of all carriers. Today's departure runway will be runway 36 right. The Orlando airport has 4 parallel runways that are clustered into 2 groups. Even though we're closer to the eastern set of runways, we'll be using a runway in the western set for takeoff today. After takeoff, we'll be headed to the west, so the west side puts us in a good position for a left-hand turn to the west after we depart. Runway 36 right, our departure runway, is paired with runway 36 left. On the east side, the runways are labeled 35 left and 35 right. Each runway has the exact same northern heading, and runway numbers are derived from the heading. 36 stands for 360 degrees, which makes sense why the runway we'll be using is labeled with a 36, but why is 35 used? Well, the rules state that you can't have 4 runways with the same numbers, so the next best closest number is used for the designation of the other runways. You can have 3 runways with the same number. In this case, the runway in the center will be labeled with a C for center. So why doesn't the airport just name 3 runways with the same number plus an additional number for the 4th runway? Well, because the 4 runways are paired into 2 groups separated by the terminal, so it just makes more sense to couple up the 2 sets of runways with their own designations. We'll be exiting the ramp on taxiway Echo 5 today, which is going to take us out onto the field. Echo 5 is a short taxiway that leads to 2 connector taxiways, taxiways Foxtrot and Echo. These taxiways link the east side of the airport to the west side of the airport, essential for us since we started on the east side and our runway is on the west side. We'll be using taxiway Echo to start off. These taxiways are on the south side of the airport, and there's one more on the north side connecting the east and the west. It's labeled taxiway Juliet. For many airports, the terminals are on one side of the airport layout, but for MCO, the terminal is right in the middle, and since arrivals and departures could potentially use any runway, the connector taxiways are essential for bringing traffic to and from their gates. Since our gate was on the south side, we use these south connectors. We're on taxiway Echo now, but we won't be on it for long. We're going to transition to taxiway Foxtrot in a moment by means of a short taxiway called Echo 4. Whether we take Echo or Foxtrot, they both take us in the same direction, west, which is where we want to go to get to the beginning of runway 36 right. And as for the view out the window, what do you guys think about the water surrounding the taxiways? That's quite unique for an airport, but we are in Florida where there is a lot of water. We're in that turn now to transition to taxiway Foxtrot, and in the distance we can see the air traffic control tower, which is keeping a close eye on us. Now, take a look at the taxiways right next to us. They are on an incline. We're actually going to be traveling up in a few moments. Why? Because we will be passing directly over a road. So the taxiway is designed to go higher to allow for more clearance for the road underneath us. That's a unique feature for an airport. The road is designed to bring traffic underneath the connector taxiways, 2 on this side and 1 on the north side of the airport. Terminals A and B are located between the runways, so the only way to get there is to go underneath the taxiways because, as I mentioned before, air traffic on the ground needs to move between the east side and the west side of the airport in order to get to the runway. There's the road down below, and you can clearly see taxiway Echo on the other side. In the distance, the building next to the control tower is the main terminal, which includes the hotel that I showed you earlier. We've just passed the apex of the bridge and are starting our descent back down to ground level. For now, we just continue going forward. Traffic is extremely light here at the Orlando International Airport today, and there is no stopping. We are officially on the west side of the airport, and in a moment, we're going to see the planes parked at the gates at airside number 3. Airside 3 is the other airside gate area that's located on the south side of the airport. Airsides number 1 and airside number 2 are located on the north side of the airport. Yes, this airport is very well divided into different sections. We're now approaching airside number 3. Do you see those yellow airplanes? They belong to Spirit Airlines. Spirit has such a large presence here at MCO that MCO is considered to be a focus city for the airline. And just like the satellite that we departed from, this satellite stands alone from the main terminal and is accessed by a train. Our departure runway, runway 36 right, is directly in front of us. However, if we were to continue straight ahead, we would be joining the runway further down and not at the very beginning of the runway. So the plan is to continue along straight and then turn left onto a parallel taxiway that takes us toward the beginning of the runway, and then we'll make a U-turn and take off to the north. I'm making sure that I am looking out the window because, hey, I'm at an airport, and airports are always exciting places to be. So my camera is always rolling. We've got about 2.5 minutes left of taxi time before we make it to the runway and take off. Have you noticed that we have not stopped moving at all since we left the gate area? Today's operation is very, very efficient. Traffic also happens to be very, very light today. There are not many departures that will be taking off in front of us. All arrivals are landing on runway 36 left, which is the parallel runway to runway 36 right. We're about to start that left-hand turn to take us to the beginning of runway 36 right. There are 3 taxiways that we can turn left onto: taxiway Echo 1, taxiway Charlie, or taxiway Bravo. Today, we'll be taking taxiway Bravo, which is the closest to runway 36 right. Taxiway Echo 1 leads to the new south terminal, Terminal C. Unfortunately, I can't see that terminal because it's on the left-hand side of the airplane, but I'm happy that the right-hand side of the airplane offers views of the runway that we'll be taking off on, runway 36 right. You might have noticed an American Airlines aircraft a few moments ago landing in the distance. That aircraft landed on runway 36 left, which is parallel to our runway 36 right. Because the runways are parallel, that presents zero conflict. However, once that aircraft does land, it does need to cross our runway, runway 36 right, in order to get to the terminal area. The crossing is carefully controlled by the ground controller in concert with the tower controller who's working the runway. This is a very safe operation. In the distance, you'll see some buildings. That is the FBO and fire station area. That's an area where most airline passengers don't get to visit or see very often. The FBOs at MCO are where general aviation aircraft go for fueling and other services. We're passing by taxiway Bravo 9 right now. The next to last taxiway is a turnoff for the runway. In one moment, we're going to turn right onto taxiway Bravo 10 and then line up with the runway. The ground controller at this airport has handed us off to the local controller, the person who is responsible for traffic on the runways. The first instruction that we receive is to line up and wait on runway 36 right. That'll put us in position, lining up with the runway, and all we need to wait for is takeoff clearance from the air traffic control tower. I love sitting on this side of the airplane for the view of the runway itself. Looking behind us, you can see that there's only one aircraft, a Southwest 737. Traffic is quite light today. We're about to cross the hold bar to the runway, which is an official indication that we have entered the runway itself. In a moment, we'll be rolling down the runway, taking off, headed towards LaGuardia. Here's the great view of the runway that I love. You can also see in the distance that American Airlines aircraft that landed before us and has officially crossed our runway. We are now clear, and the air traffic control tower is giving us takeoff clearance right now. Let's listen in to the engines. We are officially airborne. As I pan the camera back, you get a great view of airside number 1, which is the airside in the northwestern quadrant of the Terminal AB area. For now, we're going to fly out straight. We are officially leaving Orlando International Airport property and are passing over State Road 528, also known as the Martin Anderson Beachline Expressway. The controller in the control tower in the Orlando International Airport is now handing us off to Orlando Departure Control in the Terminal Radar Approach Control Facility, which is a radar room handling traffic via radar. We are on the RDSOX 1 departure, and most of the turns that we fly are basically turns that are accomplished by following the departure procedure. Initially, the departure procedure calls us to fly straight out on a 5-degree heading, and then we make a series of left-hand turns. The future headings are 359 degrees, 342 degrees, and eventually 275 degrees, which is west. Remember that the RDSOX 1 departure is a departure procedure that takes you out towards the west. That's where our departure fix is today, and even though LaGuardia Airport is to the northeast, we follow this procedure to the west. Once we are west enough, we will then start a right-hand turn towards the north and eventually the northeast to head towards our destination airport of LaGuardia Airport. Here you can see our wingtip rising, which is an indication that we are in one of the left-hand turns. This is just one of a series of left-hand turns, and we'll be making a much wider turn in a few moments. By the way, we were not the only departure with a destination in the northeast with this climb-out. Ahead of us was a 737 with the destination of Providence, Rhode Island, also in the northeast. Aircraft on this departure route fly far out as the Gulf of Mexico before they turn to the right and then fly northbound. Let's start that next wide left-hand turn right now. In addition to the left-hand turns, the RDSOX departure procedure also has rules about altitudes that you can fly to. I'm now going to read to you the entire narrative describing the RDSOX departure procedure for takeoff on runway 36 right. Here we go. Climb on heading 005 to 600, then direct to cross facts at or above 2,300, then on track 359 to cross ears at or above 3,000, then on track 342 to cross lefty at or above 4,000, and at or below 230 knots, then on track 275 to cross Blossom at or below 7,000, then on track 252 to RDSOX. Aircraft should maintain 7,000 feet and expect clearance to their filed altitude 10 minutes after departure. We're in the wide left-hand turn to the west right now. Depending on the actual departure runway that you take off on, the departure procedure will be slightly different, but ultimately, all aircraft that are taking off to the north will eventually wind up heading towards RDSOX. There are just some smaller changes in the departure turns that they make after departure. The RDSOX departure procedure is also available for aircraft that are taking off to the south, the opposite direction that we took off in. For those aircraft, they take off directly to the south and then make a right-hand turn, again heading towards the west. I also mentioned a bunch of waypoints that are along the way going to RDSOX. Waypoints differ for each runway. All of the waypoints for the departure procedure on the RDSOX departure are as follows: Facts, Coyote, Ears, Lefty, Blossom, Hand, Sways, and Villains. I always find it quite interesting to learn how the names of these waypoints are derived. Quite often they have to do with the area, but as you know, I cannot figure out why this departure procedure is called the RDSOX 1 departure. It just sounds very Boston-y. But what about those other names? Do you have any idea why they were given names for the Orlando area? As we continue along in our climb out on the Red Sox departure procedure, we're about to make our final left-hand turn that will bring us directly to Red Sox. After that, we'll eventually be making our right-hand turn to the north. Our particular flight today did not go as far out as other aircraft. We actually did not go over the Gulf of Mexico, but some of the aircraft that flew this departure heading to the northeast actually went over the Gulf of Mexico. That is quite far away, but eventually they did head to the northeast to head towards their destination airport. We're in that left-hand turn right now to head towards Red Sox. Once the wings are straight and level, we are going to be continuing to move away from the Orlando International Airport, but we're also moving away from our destination airport. We're going to hold this heading for several miles before we start the right-hand turn to the north. By this point, we're leaving the outskirts of the greater Orlando area and are approaching Lake Apoca, which is the fourth largest state in Florida. We kept this heading for several minutes, but eventually, it's about time for a turn to the north. And here we go. We're now starting the right-hand turn to the north and eventually the northeast so that we can finally get on course and head towards LaGuardia Airport. As we continue the climb, I'll end the video here. I wanted to show you the entire experience of leaving the Orlando area from bag drop all the way to Red Sox. For the next video, coming soon, I'll be picking up where I left off and I'll feature the arrival to LaGuardia. Those are always popular videos on my channel, but this one is going to be different because it's going to place emphasis on Kennedy Airport, even though we're flying to LaGuardia. Stay tuned for my next video to see what I mean.